Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Your time's important to me as always. And what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to check out this 7-foot 6-inch ProFISHiency heavy casting rod. It's one that I picked up pretty cheap at Walmart, and it's readily available to everybody I think across the country. So we're going to do an in-depth look at it and review of it. Stick around. I think you'll enjoy it. Hey guys, before we get going on the video today, I just wanted to say I really appreciate everybody out there watching the videos, checking out the channel. Turned over 2,000 subscribers. That's a big deal to me, and I really appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your day or your evening to watch this video. With that, let's get going. Okay guys, let's jump right into it. Like I said in the intro, this is a ProFISHiency rod. This is a rod that was designed and developed by David Dudley. If you're familiar with him, kind of FLW fame, I think he's fishing the Major League Series now. But this is a rod, if you watch his stuff, that he spent a couple years developing, not just this rod, but this line of rods. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit of background on it. I'll tell you how I came about having this rod. I found this at Walmart, and they're readily available at Walmart throughout the country, but I found it on the clearance aisle for $25, and the regular retail on it was $79.99, so 80 bucks. And I've been using it for the past month and a half or so, and I want to break it down, and I'll give you my thoughts on it as well. First off, if you guys watch the channel very much, you know that on all my review videos, whether it be rods, reels, and such, one of the details I like to cover on rods is the guides and how many guides are on a rod, because I think it matters. And here's why. This particular rod has 10 guides, and they kind of go down to the end, not quite micro guides, but they're pretty darn small. But the big thing is the number of guides, and here's why. 2 reasons I think it's important. Number one, more guides I think is better, and here's the first reason. Because when that line comes off of that reel, it has the tendency to want to start looping, start curling, and more guides as it goes out help tame that. At least in my mind, I find that with a rod with more guides that I have less backlashes, less issues. 2, I think that the number of guides is important because you have more line and contact with the rod, therefore more sensitivity. So as it runs down through there, you're going to have a lot more sensitivity the more guides you have. And if you start looking at your high-end rods, they're going to have usually more guides than the rods that are less expensive. But it's a moderately priced rod at basically $80. I actually got this at Walmart for $25 in the clearance aisle. Why it was there, I don't know, because there was 2 or 3 of them. Now they're right back on the main rack there for 80 bucks, $79.99. But I got it for $25, so I picked it up. I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a try. But I've been using this now for this particular rod for about a month and a half. So I do have some experience with it, and I put a little bit of field time in on it. So like I say, the guides, 10 of these guides on here, which I think is really a good thing, especially for a rod that's at this price point. Okay, now we're going to break down the back end, the butt section of the rod. It's a split grip design, and what that means is just what it says. You've got the upper section of the grip, your lower section of the grip, and you've got an exposed blank here in the middle, rod blank in the middle. It also has a blank through handle design, and what I mean by that is, if you guys can see right here, the blank actually comes through, so when you lay your hand on it, you can feel the exposed blank on your fingers, which is very, very important. I personally wouldn't buy a rod that doesn't have a blank through handle design. Almost all do anymore, but it's just one thing that adds so much sensitivity to the rod when you're using it. Also, on the reel seat here, this is a Fuji reel seat, at least according to their stats. And then the top section of this, where the rod tightens down, the threaded section here is the EVA foam right here. It's not cork, but it really doesn't matter because it's going to still do what it needs to do. Also, guys, just as far as the aesthetics on this rod go, it's got if you care about it or not, you know, it's got the True Timber camo, kind of this blue water camo design on it. It's kind of finished up with a little bit of kind of almost bling-like stuff here at the top of the reel seat and towards the butt of the rod. But so the rod, as far as itself goes, the important stuff, not the aesthetics, but how it fishes, I think it fishes fantastic. I really, really like the way it feels in hand, especially I've been using it personally for pitching, and I've done some throwing some crankbaits with it, some bigger, deeper diving crankbaits, and I really like the way it feels. Okay guys, another important factor I'd like to cover on this rod is the weight. I weighed this out and it is 5.3 ounces. 5.3 ounces on a rod, the 7'6" heavy power is really pretty good. It's definitely the lower scale on rods like this typically. You know, for example, this is a St. Croix Mojo Bass. This is a $150 or so rod, and it weighs just about 4 ounces. This is 5.3. There's a big price difference in them, but you're only a little over an ounce heavier with this rod. So I don't think that's a bad deal as far as the weight on this 7.6 heavy rod. Hey guys, one other thing too, I'm going to show you guys how I like to kind of feel out a rod when I'm looking at maybe buying a rod, purchasing a rod, and that bend in the rod. You hear all this about the parabolic bend, but the big thing is, where's that bend in the rod for the particular type of technique that I'm going to be buying or purchasing that rod for. So I'm going to show you that real quick, and maybe that'll help you guys out too. Okay guys, a quick bird's eye view of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rod, I'm going to put it down on the ground here, the tip down on the ground, guides up, because you don't want to damage any of the guides, and this is not going to hurt your rod. You can do it, I'm doing it out here in the grass, but if you got a carpeted area rug or even in the store on linoleum, not going to hurt the rod as long as you do it a firm, gentle pressure. You're not slamming the rod down or anything. So I'm placing the tip on the ground here, press down on it, and you can see about right there between the 5th and the 6th guide how that bend starts to come into the main part of the blank here, and that bend starts to dissipate. So that shows you that this rod has a fairly fast tip and a lot of backbone to it. Probably a good, I'm going to say 2/3 of the rod is backbone to horse those fish out of deep cover or timber or just deep water, whatever you're doing with it. But it's going to have plenty of backbone to play those fish. So that's something to look at. You can always do this with any rod. Like for example, a medium weight rod, it's going to end up, you know, bending all the way down here to maybe the 7th or 8th blank, something like that. But a medium heavy is going to be a little further up, and a heavy like this one is going to be even further towards the rod tip. Hey guys, if I didn't mention what I got this paired up with, it is a Abu Garcia Revo STX reel, 30-pound braid, which is Suffix 832 braid on there, and a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, which is 20-pound Sunline Sniper. So guys, I guess the bottom line is, do I think this rod is worth $80? And my answer to you would be yes. I know I got it cheaper than that, but I would pay full price, especially after having used it for a month and a half and seeing the way it feels in hand, the castability on it and such. I'm really, really happy with this rod, and for especially the purpose I got it for was mainly for flipping and pitching and throwing some deep diving crankbaits. Hey, if you got something out of this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to leave me a like and maybe a comment down below. I'd appreciate that as well. And remember, until that next video, get out there and fish.